The sky above Talrian 7 burned red like fire. Thick black clouds rolled over the rocky land, hiding the sun. Captain Elias Rourke stared up from the wreckage of his crashed ship. Smoke rose from the broken hull, and sparks danced around him. His head hurt and blood trickled from a small cut on his temple. He stood slowly, holding his side. The crash had thrown him hard against the wall, but he was lucky to be alive. His mission was simple: escort a diplomatic envoy to the outer rim. But something had gone wrong. A sudden energy storm had knocked their systems offline. His ship had spiraled out of control and crashed into the surface of Talrian 7, a planet most humans avoided. Talrian 7 was dangerous. Its forests were full of poisonous plants. The air was heavy with strange energy, and the skies always looked like they were on fire. But the worst part wasn't the land. It was who lived here. The Sangre. An ancient alien race. The Sangre looked like humans in many ways, but with pale skin, glowing eyes, and sharp teeth. Some called them space vampires. They ruled Talrian 7 with cold, quiet power. Most humans feared them. Some even said they drank the life from their enemies. Elias didn't care for rumors. He believed in facts and survival. He grabbed his pack, checked his pistol, and began walking toward higher ground. From the hill, he could maybe send a signal. But just as he reached the top, he saw something that made him stop. Down below, in a cracked valley, a small silver ship was under attack. Laser fire lit the sky. A group of black drone fighters circled like hawks, shooting at the vessel. Elias raised his binoculars. His eyes widened. Inside the ship was a young Sangrai woman, trapped, cornered, and trying to fight back. Her small energy shield flickered as blasts hit it. She looked injured. The drones were cutting through the hull. She didn't stand a chance. Elias knew he could turn away. This wasn't his fight. He had crashed, was injured, and had no backup. Helping her would mean risking everything, but something inside him stirred. She's alone, he said to himself. And I hate bullies. Without thinking more, he slid down the hill and ran toward the battle. The drones noticed him. Two turned and flew straight at him. Elias dove behind a rock as they fired. Dirt exploded around him. He pulled out his pistol and aimed carefully. One shot, then another. The first drone dropped like a stone. The second circled and came in fast. But Elias ducked and fired again, hitting its wing. It spun out and crashed. The remaining drones turned toward him now. The Sangrai woman looked surprised, but her shield flickered again and went down. Great, Elias muttered. Now we both need saving. He ran toward her ship, dodging blasts. His mind raced. He threw a grenade into the air. It burst with an electric shock, shorting out two drones. Only one left now. Elias leapt onto the wrecked ship, grabbed a loose pipe, and slammed it into the last drone's engine as it flew past. Sparks flew and the drone exploded in the air. Silence fell over the valley. Elias dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Then he heard a sound behind him. He turned and found himself face to face with the Sangrai girl. She stood tall despite her injury. Her silver armor was cracked and one arm bled, but her glowing purple eyes locked onto his. Her long dark hair blew in the hot wind. She held a thin, curved blade in her hand, but did not raise it. "You saved me," she said softly. Her voice was cold yet curious. Elias nodded. "You looked like you needed help." The girl tilted her head. "Humans do not usually risk their lives for Sangrai." "I'm not usual," Elias said, offering her his hand. "Captain Elias Rourke, Terran Scout." She looked at his hand, then shook it lightly. "I am Velira, daughter of Queen Salith, ruler of Talrian 7. Elias blinked. "Your royalty?" "Yes," she said, almost as if it was a burden. "And now, I owe you a debt." Elias helped her down from the ship. The danger was far from over. But for now they had survived. And somewhere in the sky above, other drones watched from the clouds, silently returning to the ones who had sent them. The wind howled across the valley. As Elias and Valera made their way through the rocky path, Valera moved slowly, holding her injured arm. Elias walked beside her, keeping his eyes on the sky. He didn't trust that the drone attack was over. "Why were those drones after you?" Elias asked. Valera looked at him with tired eyes. "They belong to the Zinthar. They are enemies of my people." "I've heard of them," Elias said. "Weren't they wiped out years ago?" Valera shook her head. "They went into hiding. Now it seems they have returned." Elias didn't like the sound of that. He had fought in wars before. He had seen what happened when old enemies came back with new weapons. They finally reached a cave entrance hidden behind a wall of thick vines. Valera touched a panel on the rock and a soft blue light scanned her hand. The rock wall opened with a quiet hum. Inside the cave was a Sangrai emergency shelter. Lights glowed softly along the walls. Elias helped Valera sit on a medical chair while the auto-healers began to treat her wounds. "You were lucky," Elias said. "Another few minutes and those drones would have cut through your ship." Valera looked at him with something close to a smile. "And I would not be alive without you." Elias shrugged. "Let's just say I have a habit of being in the wrong place at the right time." The cave shook suddenly. Dust fell from the ceiling. Elias jumped to his feet. "More drones?" "No," Valera said calmly. "My mother's guards. They found us." Moments later, a group of armored figures marched into the cave. Their black and silver armor gleamed and their eyes glowed faintly. At the center stood a tall woman with a long cloak flowing behind her. Her face was sharp and regal, and her eyes held centuries of wisdom and warning. Queen Salith. She looked first at her daughter, then at Elias. "What is this human doing here?" she asked coldly. "He saved me," Valera said, standing even though she still looked weak. "He fought the Zinthar alone. He protected me." Queen Salith narrowed her eyes. "A human scout? Saving a royal Sangrai? How strange." Elias stepped forward. "Ma'am, I'm not here to cause trouble. My ship crashed. I just did what anyone decent would do." "No," the queen said. "Most would not." She turned to her guards. "Take him." Valera's voice rose. "No, he is not a prisoner. He helped me." The queen raised a hand. "He is an outsider. He should not be here." "He risked his life," Valera said. "And the Zinthar are back. You saw the drone's markings. This changes everything." Queen Salith stared at her daughter for a long moment. Then she looked at Elias again. "You will come with us," she said, "as a guest for now." Elias didn't argue. He had a feeling that guests still meant being watched closely. The royal cruiser lifted off the next morning. It soared through the blood-red sky of Talrian 7, heading toward the capital city. Elias sat in a quiet chamber, looking out the window. The buildings in the distance looked like black glass towers, sharp and tall like fangs. Valera came in, her arm wrapped in a bandage made of glowing threads. "I convinced her to spare you," she said. Elias smiled. "Thanks. I'm not used to dealing with alien royalty." "You will have to get used to it," she said softly. "My mother does not trust easily, and the Zinthar's return has her worried." "Why would they want to kill you?" Elias asked. Valera's expression turned serious. "I carry the crown sigil, a symbol of peace and rule. If I die without an heir, our people may fall into war." "So they want to throw your kingdom into chaos," Elias said. "Exactly," she replied, "and now you are part of this." Elias leaned back. "Great. I just wanted to send a distress signal. Now I'm in the middle of a galactic conspiracy." Valera gave a small laugh. "You saved the wrong princess." Later, inside the Night Palace, Queen Salith met with her High Council. Holograms of Zinthar drones spun above the table. The Queen spoke with a calm but firm voice. "They have returned. The peace we built is now in danger," one elder growled. "We should prepare for war," another said. "We should seek allies." The Queen's eyes turned to Elias, standing quietly at the back of the chamber. "Perhaps we already have one." The room fell silent. Valera stepped forward. He saved me without asking for anything. We should trust him. Elias raised his hand. I'm just a scout, not a diplomat. But if the Zinthar are back, humanity will want to know. Queen Salith looked at him for a long time. Very well, she said. You may stay. But remember, if you betray us, there will be no second chance. Elias nodded. Fair enough. And, deep inside, he knew this was just the beginning. The grand hall of the Night Palace was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Towering walls of dark crystal reflected the soft glow of floating orbs, casting shadows that danced like ghosts. The air was cool and carried a faint scent of jasmine mixed with something metallic, something ancient. Elias stood near the entrance, his heart pounding. In front of him, the Sangrai court waited. Nobles with pale skin and sharp eyes watched silently. Their expressions were unreadable, a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. At the center of the room sat Queen Salith, ruler of Talrian VII and mother to Princess Valera. Her silver hair flowed over her shoulders, and her eyes burned like molten gold. She was a woman who carried the weight of centuries on her shoulders, and her presence filled the room like a storm. Valera stood beside her mother, still wounded but strong in her posture. She glanced at Elias briefly, then faced her mother with steady courage. Queen Salith's voice broke the silence. You, human, stand accused of trespassing on our sacred land and interfering in our affairs. How do you defend yourself? Elias stepped forward, steady despite the tension. I crashed here by accident. When I saw your daughter under attack, I helped her. I never meant to disrespect your people. A murmur ran through the court. Some whispered among themselves. Others simply stared. The queen's eyes narrowed. Your actions saved my daughter, yet you entered our home without permission. This is a serious offense. Valera spoke up, her voice firm. Mother, if he had not acted, I would be dead. The drones that attacked us bear the mark of the Zinthar. They are our enemy. Queen Salith studied Elias carefully, then turned to her advisors. One elder, a tall man with streaks of white in his hair, said, The Zinthar have returned after a century of silence. Their drones are a warning. We must prepare for war. The queen nodded slowly. It seems the peace we held is fragile. This human's presence is an unexpected complication. Elias felt the weight of their scrutiny. He was a stranger in their world, a man from a distant planet, yet here he was standing before a queen whose people feared him. Suddenly, the doors to the hall slid open, and Sangrai guards entered. They carried data pads showing new images, scans of drone movements and intelligence reports. Queen Salith's lips tightened. The Zinthar are moving fast. Their fleet approaches our outer moons. They seek to strike at the heart of the Sangrai. Valera's eyes flickered with worry. If they capture the moons, they can control our gates to the rest of the galaxy. Elias exchanged a glance with her. This is bigger than I thought. The queen's voice was quiet, but sharp. You have proven your courage. Perhaps you can prove your loyalty. She stood and approached Elias. You will stay under guard until we decide your fate. You will be treated as a guest, but understand this. Any betrayal will be met with swift justice. Elias nodded. I understand. The days that followed were tense. Elias was confined to a guest chamber within the palace, but Valera visited him often. She was curious about him, about humans, and about his past. She told him stories of the Sangrai, their history, and their customs. Elias shared what he could about Earth and humanity's struggles and hopes. Despite their differences, they found common ground in their desire for peace. One evening, Valera looked out over the city from the palace balcony. The red sky was darker now, stars faint but visible. My mother fears the Zinthar will bring war, she said quietly. Elias stood beside her. And what do you want? Valera smiled sadly. To protect my people, to be more than just a princess waiting to be saved. Elias looked at her, feeling a deep respect. Then we fight together. Suddenly, the palace alarms blared. Guards rushed by, their faces grim. Queen Salith entered the chamber where Elias and Velira stood. The Zinthar have landed forces on one of the moons. We must act. She turned to Elias. Your knowledge of human tactics could help us. Elias nodded. I'm ready. The Queen's voice softened just a little. Very well. Prepare yourself. You leave at dawn. That night, Elias could barely sleep. He thought about the fight ahead, the alien queen and her daughter, and the enemy he barely understood. But one thing was clear. He would stand by Velira and the Sangrai no matter what, because sometimes saving a life means saving a whole world. The morning sun cast a dull red light over the capital city of Talrion 7. Its tall towers stood like silent sentinels, watching the world below. Captain Elias Rourke stood at the palace gates, dressed in a borrowed Sangre uniform that felt tight and strange on his body. Beside him, Princess Velira walked with a quiet confidence despite the injury still wrapped on her arm. The palace courtyard was filled with nobles and warriors, all whispering and staring at Elias. To most, he was an outsider, a human in the heart of an ancient alien empire. Word had spread quickly. The human who saved the princess was now to be part of their world. Elias could feel the weight of their eyes. It was clear some did not want him there. Some even seemed angry. Velira noticed and leaned close. Don't mind them, she said softly. They fear change, but change is coming whether they want it or not. Elias nodded. I'm used to people fearing what they don't understand. They entered the great hall where Queen Salith awaited. Her eyes flicked to Elias, sharp and questioning. Your bravery is noted, human, the Queen said. But bravery alone will not keep you alive here. She paused, her voice dropping to a softer tone. There is an old tradition among the Sangre. When two races seek to join as allies, they seal their bond through a union, a bond of blood and trust. Elias looked at Velira, surprised. She met his gaze with steady eyes. The Queen continued. Velira, you have the right to choose. Will you accept this bond with the human who saved you? The court gasped. Whispers rose like a rising tide. Velira stepped forward. I accept. The room fell silent. Elias felt his heart race. You're serious? Velira smiled faintly. More than anything. Later, alone in a quiet chamber, Elias and Velira talked. Why me? Elias asked. There must be others, Sangre or human, who could help. Velira looked down at her hands. Because you see me, not just as a princess or a weapon, but as a person. She looked up, eyes shining. You saved me when no one else would. You risked your life without asking for reward. Elias felt a warmth he had not expected. But the court, he said slowly, they won't like this. They see me as an enemy. Some will never accept it, Velira said. But this bond is more than politics. It's hope. The next day, preparations began for the ceremony. The palace buzzed with tension. Guards polished their weapons. Nobles practiced polite smiles that did not reach their eyes. The air was thick with questions. Elias stood beside Velira as they entered the ceremonial hall, a vast chamber carved from black stone, lit by glowing crystals. At the center lay the blood circle, an ancient symbol glowing faintly red. Queen, Salith spoke solemnly. This bond is sacred. It connects two souls and their peoples. Velira and Elias placed their hands inside the circle. A warm light surrounded them, filling the room with energy. Elias felt a strange calm wash over him. It was as if their spirits touched beyond words. When the light faded, the Queen spoke again. From this moment you are bound, not just by duty, but by trust. In the days that followed, Elias felt the eyes of the Sangre on him change. Some nodded with reluctant respect. Others whispered, but fewer openly opposed. Velira remained by his side, her strength and belief a steady support. One evening, She took Elias to the palace garden. The crimson flowers bloomed under the twin moons, their petals glowing softly. "This bond means more than ceremony," she said. "It means we fight together. For peace." Elias looked at the stars. "Then let's make sure our enemies know. We are united," she smiled. "Yes, the Zinthar will learn that the Sangre and humans are stronger together." But not all was peaceful. In the shadows of the city, enemies stirred. The Zinthar forces prepared their next move, gathering fleets and weapons. Elias knew that their time to act was coming soon, and with Valeira as his partner, he was ready to face whatever storms lay ahead. The twin moons of Talrian 7 hung low, in the red sky, their silver light casting long shadows across the barren surface. From the palace's command center, Captain Elias Rourke stared at the holographic map hovering before him. Red dots flickered across the moons, Zinthar landing pods and battle drones preparing for attack. Beside him, Princess Valeira stood calm and focused, her sharp eyes scanning the data. Though her arm was healed, the burden of leadership weighed heavily on her. "The Zinthar want to control these moons," Valeira said quietly. "If they succeed, they will block our trade routes and cut off our defenses." Elias nodded. "We need to stop them before they can build a foothold." Sangre warriors were ready. Elite blood knights clad in dark armor and armed with energy blades gathered in the hangars. Terran Marines from Elias's crew prepared their weapons, sharing quiet nods of respect with the alien fighters. The alliance was fragile, but the threat was real. As the joint force boarded the sleek assault ships, Elias felt a mixture of excitement and fear. He had led many battles on Earth, but this was different. Here, on an alien world with alien allies, the stakes felt even higher. The ships lifted off, engines roaring against the dark sky. Elias sat beside Valeira in the lead craft. "Stay close," she said. "We fight as one." The fleet raced, toward the moons, slipping through clouds of glowing dust. Ahead, the Zinthar forces waited, their own ships dark and deadly. The first clash was sudden and brutal. Laser fire lit the sky as ships darted between craters. Elias's heart pounded as his ship shook from a near hit. Sangre blood knights leapt into battle with fierce cries, their blades cutting through enemy drones with deadly precision. Elias took command of his Marines, ordering them to secure the landing zone. On the ground, the battle was worse. The moons were rocky and harsh, with deep chasms and swirling dust storms. The Zinthar had fortified positions, armed with plasma cannons and advanced tech. Elias led a squad through the twisting canyons, fighting side by side with Valeira's warriors. They moved fast, relying on strategy and courage. At one point, Elias found himself back-to-back with Valeira as waves of enemy drones closed in. "Keep moving," she shouted, deflecting a blast with her blade. Elias fired his pistol, taking down 2 drones with steady aim. Together they pushed forward, cutting through the enemy lines. Hours passed in a blur of battle. Blood spilled on the moon's surface, human and Sangre alike. But the tide began to turn. Valeira's leadership inspired the warriors. Elias's tactics kept the squads alive. At last, they reached the Zinthar command post, a massive dome covered in dark metal plates. Elias gestured. "This is it. We end this here." They stormed inside, facing fierce resistance. The air was thick with tension as energy blasts and blade strikes echoed through the halls. At the center, they found the Zinthar commander, a towering figure clad in black armor, his eyes glowing with rage. "Humans and Sangre united?" he snarled. "You will fall." Valeira stepped forward, her voice cold. "Not today." The final fight was fierce. Elias and Valeira fought side by side, their movements perfectly timed. His pistol blasts and her energy blade strikes tore through the enemy ranks. Finally, the commander fell, and the dome's defenses powered down. As silence settled, Elias looked around. The moons were scarred, but the Zinthar threat was broken. For now. Valeira smiled wearily. "We held the line. Elias nodded, feeling a deep pride. Your people are strong. She looked at him with respect. And you have earned your place among us. Back on the palace ship, the queen awaited their return. You have done well, she said to Elias. Your bravery and skill have saved many lives. Elias bowed his head slightly. It was an honor to fight alongside your people. Queen Salith's eyes softened. This war is far from over. But today, we have hope. That night, as the moons turned away from the burning planet, Elias stood with Valera on the palace balcony. The Xanthar will return, Elias said. They won't give up easily. Valera nodded. But neither will we. She reached out, taking his hand. Together they looked to the stars, ready to face whatever came next. The war was far from over. After the victory on the moons, the Xanthar fleet retreated, but their threat lingered like a shadow over Talrian 7. Queen Salith called for a meeting with her closest advisors and with Elias and Valera. In the grand hall of the Night Palace, the air was heavy with tension. The queen stood tall, her silver hair flowing like a river of light. Her eyes held a fierce determination, but there was a worry beneath. The Xanthar will return, she said, stronger and more dangerous. An elder spoke up. We must use every weapon at our disposal. Salith nodded. There is one power, long forbidden, that could turn the tide. Elias frowned. Forbidden? What kind of power? Valera's face grew serious. The blood core. It is an ancient relic that holds the power of our ancestors. It can give immense strength to one being, but at a great cost. The queen's voice softened. It drains the life force of the one who wields it. They become powerful, but their days grow short. Elias looked at Valera. Would someone really use it? Valera shook her head. It is a last resort. The council debated late into the night. The Xanthar's strength grew, and the queen knew time was running out. Finally, Salith turned to Elias. You have proven your courage and loyalty. Will you take the blood core's power to protect my people and humanity? Elias was silent for a moment. The weight of the offer was heavy. To take the power meant risking his life, but to refuse could mean the end of everything they fought for. He looked at Valera, whose eyes shone with hope and trust. I will, he said quietly. The ritual chamber was deep beneath the palace. Walls covered in ancient symbols glowed with red light. The blood core rested on an altar, a pulsating gem that seemed alive. Elias stepped forward, feeling a strange warmth spreading through him. Queen Salith began the ceremony, chanting words in the old Sangrai tongue. Valera stood beside Elias, holding his hand firmly. A wave of energy surged through Elias's body. His vision blurred, then sharpened. He felt strength like never before, as if every cell in his body was alive with power. But the warmth was mixed with pain. His heartbeat quickened and exhaustion threatened to pull him down. He gritted his teeth and focused. This was the price he had to pay. Days passed. Elias trained harder than ever. The blood core's power gave him speed, strength, and endurance beyond normal limits. He could fight longer, see clearer, and move faster. But each day, he felt his body grow weaker inside. The energy burned him from within. Valera watched him closely. You don't have to do this alone, she said. We will find another way. Elias shook his head. Not yet. We need this chance. Then the Xanthar returned. Their fleet darkened the skies. Talrian 7 shook as enemy ships bombarded the planet. Elias stood with Valera and the Sangrai, warriors on the front lines. The battle was fierce, more brutal than anything Elias had faced before. He moved like a storm, cutting through enemy ranks with power no human should have. Sangrai and humans fought side by side, inspired by his strength. But Elias could feel the cost. His body ached and his vision blurred at times. Still, he pushed forward. The final moment came when the Xanthar commander appeared on the battlefield again, leading a massive force, Elias faced him in single combat. The fight was a blur of light and sound, blades clashing, energy blasts, and raw power. With a final strike, Elias defeated the commander. The Zinthar forces began to retreat. The war was won. But Elias collapsed, drained. Valera caught him in her arms. "You are safe," she whispered. Queen Salith approached, her voice full of both gratitude and sadness. "You saved us all, but the blood core takes its toll." Elias smiled weakly. "I would do it again." As Elias rested, Valera sat by his side. "You are more than a warrior," she said softly. "You are my partner, in every way." Elias looked at her. "We fought for this, together." And as the stars shone over Talrian 7, a new hope was born. One forged in courage, sacrifice, and a bond stronger than blood. The sun rose slowly over Talrian 7, casting soft light on the night palace. The battle scars of war were still visible, but the city was alive again. People moved through the streets, rebuilding homes and lives. The harsh red skies seemed a little kinder today. Captain Elias Rourke lay in a quiet chamber, resting after the toll of the blood core's power. His body was weak, but his spirit was strong. Beside him sat Princess Valera, her eyes filled with hope and warmth. Queen Salith entered the room, her steps slow but steady. She looked at Elias with deep respect. "You have done more than we ever expected," she said. "Talrian 7 owes you its life." Elias smiled weakly. "I was just doing what was right." The queen nodded. "It is time for a new chapter. I will step down as ruler and pass the crown to Valera." Valera stood, a mixture of pride and responsibility shining in her eyes. "This crown," she said softly, touching the symbol on her chest, "is not just for me. It is for all who believe in peace and unity." Elias watched her, knowing how far she had come, from a princess in danger to a queen ready to lead her people. The palace courtyard was filled with Sangre nobles, warriors, and citizens gathered for the ceremony. The air buzzed with excitement and hope. Valera stepped forward wearing the royal cloak. Queen Salith placed the crown gently on her head. "You are the future of the Sangre," the queen said. "May your reign be strong and just." The crowd cheered softly, but their eyes were on Elias. Valera took Elias's hand and raised it for all to see. "This man," she declared, "is not only my consort, but my partner in life and in the future of our people." A wave of surprise rippled through the crowd. Some whispered, others smiled. Elias looked around, feeling the weight of their acceptance. He had come as a stranger, but now he was family. In the days that followed, the Crimson Concord was formed, the new alliance between humanity and the Sangre. Together they planned for peace and mutual growth. Elias and Valera worked side by side, blending their cultures and strengths. Their bond was a symbol of hope for many. One evening, they stood on the palace balcony, looking up at the stars. "You think we can keep the peace?" Elias asked. Valera smiled. "We must. For our people. For the galaxy." Elias squeezed her hand. "I'm ready for whatever comes." Months passed, and news came from distant worlds. The Zinthar were broken, but not gone. Other alien races watched the new alliance with interest and some with fear. But Elias and Valera faced these challenges with courage and wisdom. Their story became a legend. The human who saved an alien princess, the princess who asked him to be her husband, and the two who united their worlds. One quiet night, Elias sat by a small fire outside the palace. Valera joined him, sitting close. They talked about dreams and plans, about peace, exploration, and new friendships among the stars. Elias looked up at the sky, full of bright stars. Who knew a crashed ship would change everything? Valera laughed softly. Sometimes the smallest moments shape the greatest stories. He smiled. feeling at home. As the galaxy watched, a new era began, an era where hope shone brighter than fear, and where courage and love built bridges between worlds. And in that light, Elias and Valera stood together, ready to face the stars.